What's up, guys? Bryan Lebo here with a very festive December update video for you guys all. Now, today we're going to cover the normal analytics and then discuss two changes that will affect real estate on a national level. First are the new conforming loan limit increases for next year. Second, we'll discuss a new government fee imposed by Fannie and Freddie for refinances. With that said, let's go ahead and get right to it. Okay, first up are last month's sales. Last month, we sold a shattering 2,815 homes. This was an incredible 26% increase over last November's sales. This was by far the best November since I started tracking back in 2012. All right, next up is median home price. Yet again, we broke another record with a median price of $345,000. This now puts us up 13% from where we were this same time last year at $305,000. The question on everyone's mind right now is, how friggin' long can we continue to see these increases? All right, next up, let's check out our inventory levels. As you can see now, we ended the month with only 4,222 homes on the market. Now, spoiler alert, just in these past 2 weeks, we've lost another 10%, or let's just say 400 homes. To add some context, the lowest our inventory has been this entire decade was back on April 4th of 2013 when we had just over 3,000 homes on the market. At the rate that we're losing inventory now, we might actually beat that number out by mid to late January. We've been losing about 100 homes a week for the past 12 weeks. What's worse, over the past 5 weeks, that's risen up to 150 homes a week. Now, suffice to say, inventory is our largest problem right now. Okay, now let's pivot to housing absorption. This shows us how much in demand different price ranges are performing. Now, the higher the percentage, the more competitive that price range is. So let's find out how these different price ranges are holding up. Okay, first up is the under $250,000 price range. This has remained very steady at 57%. Next is $250,000 to $500,000. You can see here that it's almost identical at 56%. This is also 5 to 10 times the quantity of all the other price ranges, meaning this is the majority of the market. Now, when we raise the price to $500,000 to $750,000, you start to see it come down to 45%. However, this is up 2% just from last month. It's up 6% in the past 2 months. Next, let's look at $750,000 to $1 million. As you can see, we're currently at 35%, which is up 5% in only 2 months. Now, things get interesting here. Check out $1 million to $1.5 million. For some reason, this price segment dropped 5% last month to only 30% absorption. Now, on the other hand, when we look at the ultra luxury price range of over 1.5 million, you can see that we increased yet again to 25%. No matter how you slice it, the market's just super competitive. It's just really surprising to see the ultra high end of the market performing 2 to 3 times better than it normally would in a normal market. Okay, now let's move on to some news topics. First, let's talk about loan limits. Now, if you aren't familiar with the term conforming loan, that simply means the maximum amount that banks will lend to a borrower and still be able to sell that loan to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Now, anything above the conforming loan limit becomes what's called a jumbo loan and therefore requires more down payment and subsequently a little bit of a higher interest rate. Well, currently we're at $510,400. That's the limit. Well, FHFA, which is the governing body over Fannie and Freddie, recently announced that the limits for next year will increase to $548,250. So basically, a 7.5% increase. Now, this is great, don't get me wrong. But as we just learned, our local median prices just went up 13% from last year. So while this increase helps borrowers spend more money, it hasn't really kept up with our local inflation. Okay, While we're on the subject of financing, our next news topic has to do with refinances. Now, this is a fun one to read between the lines on here, okay? So normally lenders fund about $2 trillion per year in loans and refinances. This year, we're on track to fund $3.5 trillion. With low interest rates all year, everyone is taking advantage and refinancing. Well, FHFA, which is the managing body over Fannie, Freddie, and FHA, came out and announced that any loan originating after December 1st will be subject to a 0.5% fee. In other words, if you take out a $400,000 mortgage, FHFA wants $2,000 right now for absolutely nothing. Here's the between the lines part. According to FHFA, and I'm going to put it up on the screen right now, their official response to the fee is this. The fee is intended to offset a projected $6 billion in losses, largely related to loans in forbearance, and separately, the anticipated rate of default among mortgages backed by Fannie and Freddie as unemployment remains high and economic uncertainty persists. Now, if that's true, that's a canary in the coal mine if I ever saw one, right? They're effectively saying that the mortgage market is in so much peril that they need capital right now to be able to be prepared for what's coming next year. Now, on the other hand, with interest rates so low, lenders are making money hand over fist. We're talking the most money ever in history. Honestly, I think the government simply saw an opportunity to make some easy money right here. Instead of paying the 0.5% fee at closing, lenders can simply raise the interest rate a tiny bit to offset that fee. It's still a record low rate, and honestly, no one's going to complain. With $3.5 trillion being financed, it's just an easy money grab for FHFA, and really, no one's going to complain about it. Not to mention, we're not going to see a flood of foreclosures. If people can't pay their mortgage after the mortgage forbearance expires, they're simply going to sell their home. The vast majority of Americans have sizable amounts of equity right now since prices have been rising for these past few years. Now, unless we have an overnight cataclysmic crash like we had in 2008, people will simply sell and just cash out. But you guys tell me, what do you believe? Is FHFA secretly warning us of a crash next year? Or is this the government simply sticking their hands in the cookie jar because they can? Well, that's it for this month, everyone. Next month, I'll wrap up this year and attempt to make some sense out of this market and provide some guidance going into next year. So please hit the like button and smash that subscribe button to help me out and this channel. Have a wonderful holidays, everyone, and I'll see you all in 21.